BITSAA formation here. You remember when I came in 1988, there was a whole bunch of people I sort of kept meeting, and there was a sort of an interest in getting together. I sort of collected a huge number of names, and suddenly...
I remember 1994 I came in January, and I met you, and you were having bridge sessions in your house, in other places, and there were other BITSians were playing, like Prashant Swisbooth and others. I recall that, and then, I don't know, you had something that you started talking about forming BITS.
But actually the real thing was that a lot of people wanted to make a formal gathering. I said, oh, why do we need one? And they thought it's a good idea to do this because we can have some professional interaction and presentations and make a little bit of noise about being BITSians in Australia.
I recall now, 27 November 94. You had called a formal meeting, and there were almost 55 BITSians who landed up for that meeting.
Yeah, and that suddenly there was rush pressure to incorporate. And remember, not long thereafter, early in 1995, we even incorporated it, had a number of professional meetings, guys like you and Ravinder Singh on solar energy, and other guys making professional presentations.
I do remember because you had to hire halls and do these activities, you had to incorporate it and also pay insurance, etc. And you had membership, and a lot of people became member of the BITS Alumni Association. And you had a lot of picnics at that time, isn't it?
Yeah. That was actually, it turned out that's one sustaining activity that we had year after year.
Yeah, in fact, Ambupa Thakur, he used to be GSEC in Pilani. He came in 2003, and I remember he called me and said, we want to start invigorating the picnic much more with cricket and whatnot.
And the family, I think that they switched to family interest in getting the family into the association.
Yeah.
And it was also
even the kids used to come for those picnics. I recall those, yeah.
All of these people.
Very enjoyable picnics. BITSunami. I think through BITS Australia Alumni, we had something happened.
When I was in Madras in the end of 2004, some personal connection, that's when the tsunami struck in Madras. And I was, as usual, in touch with BITSians in the local area, wherever they were. And they all met up and decided to take up this BITSunami project. And one of the key components of the BITSunami project was, while funding was done by major donors such as Wipro, the entire administration and management of the project was done entirely for BITSians with worldwide support. And we had a PS in BITSunami for which we paid student stipend, and we raised the funds, substantial amount of, most of the funds for the PS in BITSunami was raised from Australian donations.
Oh,
we raised of the order of $10,000.
Oh, that's part of the membership?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you also used Australian charities to donate some part?
Yes, we worked through Aid Australia, and they made a substantial help in getting all this thing over a period of 2 years.
That is really great that the BITS Association could contribute in some way for a project that BITS started and also help tsunami in victims in India. You know, our time, Mira Bhavan, there are hardly any people there. And in fact, Sunit Ricky in one of his speeches when he came to BITS said, "Har uchi diwar ke piche Mira Bhavan hota hu." Because you know, it was such a thing. And now, when I went for Goa Union, so many women there in BITS. So, women has increased, and I believe you have done some activities here with. So, can you sort of tell us
as you know, with the rising enrollment of women in BITS, the women graduates in BITS has been increasing substantially, and we see that in Sydney, especially since after the 80s, mid 80s and late 80s, we see a substantial number of women And actually, it was very interesting.
Young professional women.
Yeah, most of them in very well placed positions.
Okay.
Many of them very well placed. And so I was talking to a couple of them, and they came about a meeting of women BITSians in Australia a few months ago, and they had a wonderful agenda, and they have formed a good alliance. I believe they're meeting again early next year.
Yeah, I believe Shanti mentioned Women's Forum, so that's what they're calling it?
Yeah, I think so.
And Nagi, you know, our batchmates in Pilani, 75 batchmates who had started off this big project called Alumni, and they had reached a point where they were asking people for more donations. So it started with what we collected before. There was a seed capital, started the mess workers insurance, and then Planet Call came to us also. So we could just raise money and donate, and we had a chat with you and said, what can we do? You said you could call people over and start collection. And then on 1st April Fool's Day, we had a meeting. And we said, let's have another look at it. Let's do something where we can get all the BITSians together and more BITSians into it, and have something where we can have money they're paying for and they enjoy the evening, and we sort of raise money.
Style entertainment program for many years, but it never came to pass. We needed this Atmanirbhara to give us a kickstart on that front, and I think, in my opinion, it was a wonderful effort and great achievement. Not only to raise funds through this, but we were also lucky that I had this hospitality for fundraising initiative starting up here, and thanks to that we were able to top $10,000 of funds for this one thing. To my knowledge, it's a great achievement from a remote chapter.
And the actual personal calling to each and every individual BITSians, then networking to get more BITSians into it, and then people even suggested names like Samosa, Sydney and Masti and something like that.
It's alright. Little darling.
जाने मन तेरे दो नयन चोरी चोरी लेके गए देखो मेरा मन जाने मन जाने मन जाने मन Hello fellow BITSians, BITSian family, members and BITSian friends. My name is Smarajit Kumar Dey. My friends call me by my pet name, Bapi. And in office they use my initials SK to address me. Anyway, my job today is not to explain my name or start off a discussion on naming ceremonies, but convey my thanks to all who have made this event possible. I cannot start any other way but by thanking all of you. The greatest audience ever. It is your wholehearted support and the fact that all of you gave up your very busy time on a Saturday night that have made this evening possible. I must share with you our experience when we started calling all BITSians in Sydney to canvass attendance for this night. Mahesh Narayanasamy, who had just at that time arrived here from UK and taken up residence at Nagi's hospitality unit, needs to be thanked for his efforts at painstakingly making the calls on weekends with me listening in. Every person we called was so positive when we called, and it reinforced in me the great bond that exists between all BITSians. The hospitality unit of Nagi that I mentioned is an initiative by which Nagi is giving back to BITS by letting traveling BITSians to Sydney stay at the unused flat at his residence for a nominal sum that goes back to BITS charity. A sum of around $6,000 is being added to the funds we raised tonight by Nagi to send to our country. Nagi is also one of the most senior BITSians in Sydney, as Naveen said, Balaji, and he is a very dedicated and perseverant man, singularly responsible for promoting networking between BITSians for many, many years, organizing picnics and get-togethers in the past.
But I think that it has caught this has caught the imagination of people. And if you remember, we were talking about the possibility of doing the next BITSNite in Australia in Melbourne. There is great deal of enthusiasm for that too.
Yeah, and that's
I think that looks like it's there to stay.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.